get these services, you have to take these services. No, but letting the veteran and the military family member know that this is available to you, and we are here to assist you. You are not alone. These services are here. If you need us, call the VPAN support line or call 988. If you want to talk to somebody, just reach out, because you're literally not, you don't have to go through this alone.
You know what I just thought that we have not done is introduction. We've been sitting here talking.
Because we started talking before we started recording.
No, it's okay. So I want to welcome everybody to the Service Area 7.
Interesting. We're here to have fun, right?
Right. Totally cool. Usually what we do, I think people are used to it already, and we've been dilly-dallying with the equipment, hoping that everything looks fine, but everything looks fine. But why don't we start off with Frank? I usually introduce myself, but you can introduce yourself, and then we'll pass it on to whoever you want. We call it popcorn.
Yeah, let's let our guests introduce themselves.
Ladies first.
Ladies first, okay. So my name is Simone Bent. I am a medical caseworker with the County of Los Angeles with an agency called the Veteran Peer Access Network. We are VPAN, we're known as VPAN. We're under the County of Los Angeles Department of Mental Health. We do not provide any treatment or triage of mental health, even though we do have clinicians on staff. Our goal, our aim is to provide referral and linkages to our veterans and also our military family members, because we do believe very strongly in helping the veteran culture, the military family culture. I myself served in the United States Army. I'm a female veteran, proudly served, and now I am giving back to the veteran community the best way I can. Popcorn to Frank.
My name is Frank Morales. I am retired, but I have a part-time job. Thank you through the VA and LA Trade Tech. I'm a chef at Universal Studios part-time. I am an Air Force veteran, and I am also the commander of Post 804, which is the American Legion in East Los Angeles. I have been involved with the VA only 6 years, and I was out of the Air Force back in the 80s. So a lot of things when I came out are different, and there's so many resources out there. You have VPAN and a lot of other that are there to help us veterans. I encourage you to reach out. Veterans, you got a buddy, reach out, let them know people are there to help them. And family members also.
Correct. I know when I got out of the service, and even today, my family, I know they're probably going to be watching this, but my family, OMG.
That's good.
OMG, my family, and this is why I believe so strongly in the model that I recently had a discussion with Jim Zenner, who's now the director of MVA. And I told him, I said, I was so honored to, have like this offer for interview with MVA, but I'm not done with VPAN yet. Because I believe so strongly in the model that VPAN represents. I believe strongly, okay, you have a veteran, pair them with a bad buddy, give them a peer that helps them navigate these difficult systems. We sometimes have a hard time understanding as community health workers, as medical caseworkers, as peer support specialists. We question a lot of time, like, what does this mean? What's going on? And we're case conferencing amongst ourselves. Mm-hmm. What does this mean? How do we expect our veterans and our military family members to understand these systems? Absolutely. And that's why we exist, to kind of break down these layers and these barriers. And I believe so strongly in that system that for me, just being able to provide that service to our veterans and our military families, a lot of my veterans, I see myself in them. And I remember my dad sitting down and he says, with tears, I just don't know how to help you. What can I do? What can I do? And sometimes that's what it's gonna take. You gotta sit down, you have a client on your roster, how can I help you? What can I do to best assist you? How can I help you?
It's interesting, again, I know I mentioned this earlier, but navigation, right? Sometimes even amongst professionals, right? I did FSP for a while. And I remember I came from an outside provider. FSP is an intense program that they offer. And basically I remember when I came from the outside provider, I had an understanding of FSP. And then I got trained in FSP. And even then there would be cases would be like, so what do we do next?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're mentioning. And as I was sharing with Frank and you earlier, I can't even imagine how it might be for a veteran who just got out and is seeking services.
Yeah.
And then you run into this like barrier, right? What do I do from here?
Yeah.
You walk up to the poor receptionist who's trying to help you, and what does she say?
I don't know.
Got your name and number, I'll call you back.
Call you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, one of the things is the difference between Simone and myself is I'm gonna talk to a veteran and say, look, there's all these different places you can go. There are VAs set up in a lot of different areas, there's phone numbers, there's this or that. And I'm gonna give them a direction. And when I give them a direction, that's when Simone steps in. Not only as a veteran, but as somebody who's there to actually help you physically with the blue collar work. I'll do all the white collar because I don't do the blue collar work with the veterans. And that's where Simone and other veterans come in that I'm grateful for, and we're blessed to have them, because without them, our fellow brothers and sisters aren't gonna get the help they need or the guidance that they need to move forward and to have a productive life, to have a family. You know, you look at our lives, the gentlemen and the ladies that came out of Vietnam, they struggled the worst because it was so hard to get some help back in that day because of the way the community acted towards them. The majority didn't want to be there, but they went and they served their country, and they did it honorably. And when they got out, there was no guidance. Now, come 40 years later, 50 years later, there's highways that you can get on to be able to compete in the job market, to go to school, to be educated more. And see, for us, back in the day, we fought, you know, when we went to school, because nobody didn't understand us. Nobody understood a veteran as they do now. And the brothers and sisters that are getting out now are so much more better off, because they walk out the door 6 months before they walk out the door, they're already getting help. This is what you need to do. These are the paperwork. These are what you got to file. You know, this is how you do this. And so we've been blessed with veterans such as Simone, myself, telling people, hey, this is where you can go. And her, I tell them where to go, she tells them how to do it.
Yeah, one of the things too is with society in general, people just don't take the time to care for others and care for themselves.
Sure.
So one of the biggest things is you have to practice self-care. You have to, whatever that looks like for you, it could be going to get a massage, it could be going to church, if you're not religious, going to the club, wherever, whatever it looks like for you, it should be on your term. You have to take the time to take care of yourself so that your mind is right, your body is right, your heart is right, so that you can then go out and assist somebody else. Because the bottom line is, if you are in this line of work, if you're a medical caseworker, a peer support specialist, a social worker, if you're in social services, you have to give a portion of yourself to the people you serve.
Absolutely.
Period. You have to give a portion of yourself to the people that you serve, and sometimes that's just not there. A veteran comes in, a military family member comes in, how do I do this? And it's like, I don't know. Call this number. Take the time to ask them, how are you doing? How are you? How's your day going?
And I laugh or smirk because it's so true. It's self-care, right? How are you expected to help somebody if you yourself are not doing well, right?
Yeah.
And that expands across multiple fields,
Yeah.
especially like as community health workers, medical case managers, peer specialists. You know, when you really have a passion towards helping somebody, it takes from you. You bring it home. Even though we all say we leave work at
Leave
work,
it at home.
that's not true. You
Yeah,
know?
we joke about it.
Yeah.
I remember my coworkers, we joke about it. Said we just can't. We don't disconnect.
It's funny.
Sometimes it takes like literally powering the phone off,
Mhm.
and sometimes that doesn't even work because you see it and you pick it up or you hear a sound and it's like, was that my phone? Was that my work phone?
And it's so true because then like, you think about it, right? The experience of the individual who walks in. So for example, you know, I walk into Kaiser and for whatever reason I'm there, maybe the receptionist didn't practice good self-care. And at that moment when I ask her, hey, I have an appointment, she might be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I get it. That, you know, I've been there myself. I think it's part of being human. But I think what you said is awesome because even me myself with my wife, you know, I come home or when she gets home, so she's also a caseworker, and you know, she needs to decompress, and I totally get it. And so
Yeah.
we spend, I don't know, sometimes after dinner the conversation continues. You know, I had to do this, and that's what part of this
Yeah.
this work is.
And sometimes it just takes listening.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's not even with the service with the work that we do. A
Mhm.
veteran comes in, he doesn't want you to tell him what to do, or she doesn't want you to tell her what to do. She just wants you to listen.
I tell
Just
my team
listen.
all the time. Mathila's gonna agree or disagree, but I tell them all the time. I have no words for you.
And just listen.
yeah.
Listen and listen actively and say, you know what? You know, I'm so sorry I'm sorry that you have to experience this. You know, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I hope that it gets better.
Yeah.
And it will get better.
And I would say that part of the self-care is not only for ourselves, but showing others how to do that as well.
Absolutely.
And like you said, whatever that looks like, but letting them know that it's okay. And just connecting this to another conversation that we had earlier, and that sometimes even asking for help or saying that we're not okay
Yep.
is difficult.
One of my this is not a commercial, you guys, but I love the band Imagine Dragons,
Oh.
and they have a song that says it's okay to be not okay,
Right.
and it's absolutely there's nothing wrong with you if you're not well one day, so
That's part of life.
it's okay, but once you keep going, you're gonna the victory that you're gonna have on when you're well, when you look back at it, it's gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
I'm a talker, you guys. I'll
No,
talk
it's
to
okay,
you.
but you know, when you're talking to, have you ever walked into or up to a receptionist or a bank teller?
By the way, this poor imaginary receptionist, she's getting it today. I feel
Yeah,
bad
she
for her,
is.
but go ahead.
What's that?
The imaginary receptionist we're using
Yeah.
right now, she's getting it today, but it's good. It's good. That's
She's like,
nice.
are you talking about me?
Yeah.
So, or the clerk, and for me, they go, how you doing today? I go, well, you got a couple of hours? And they look at me like, what? I go, don't you just hate or dislike when you say that? And then somebody goes on for 15 minutes and tells you what the problem is, and you're like, why did I ask that? and I try to make everybody laugh, because when you walk up to a reception, see at the VA, the bank teller, you go, hey, how you doing today? And you know and they're like, what? They're shocked because
They're not expecting
they're not
that.
expecting you to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
And you get so much more accomplished with being nice than you do being rude.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So I love going. This is not a commercial, also, but I love going to Trader Joe's. My husband doesn't like going with me because I talk to the
Everybody.
cashier or I talk to everybody, you know. And I'm always saying more than the how are you. I'm the type of person they say good. I'm like, oh, and they ask me how I'm doing. I go on with like, you know what, I'm doing really well. I love your flower selection, by the way.
My wife says,
And you're
I can
one
relate.
of
I can
you're one of
totally
those
relate.
persons that like, why did I ask that?
I can.
so you know, my wife says to me all the time, why do you have to talk to everybody? And I'm like, well, it's not that. It's that, you know, if you say, hey, how are you doing? I'm gonna say, I'm doing good. How about yourself? Or you know, it could be better, but I'm a talker too. So to me, it's funny. Short little story. The other day, we took Sammy to the park. Sammy's my daughter, and she was playing on the swing, and another little boy started playing with her. And so the mom, my wife she's not a talker. She doesn't like to engage. So the mom of the other kid started like yelling at her from the other side of the swing. Hey, how are you doing? And my wife was slowly trying to pull away, but the lady reeled her in. And then I was watching the entire, and I'm like, this is so cool. I stood out of it, and when they were done, I said, "You made a new friend."
Oh.
We exchanged numbers. I said, "That's good."
You know, going back to what you said about talking to people, there's not one story that I won't go into that if there's two ladies there, when they're talking like this in the aisle, excuse me, and people freak out, they actually, what? Because most people just walk. I was at the Target looking at cookie dough and stuff, and this lady stopped right in front of me and started looking at the cookie dough. And I said, "Excuse me," and she goes, "Why?" I'm looking at, but you go in, and I know I've made a lot of people's day because I merely say, "Hey, good morning," or "That hair looks really nice on you, ma'am." One of the things that I compliment women on are their shoes. Remember the 9 West that my mom used to wear, and the 3-inch heel, very nice looking. I said this to this lady. I said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to be rude or disrespectful, but those shoes are lovely. You don't see them anymore." And she was like, "Oh my God, thank you." She didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
But if you're nice, you're gonna get so much more, especially to a veteran.
Exactly.
If you're nice to a veteran, "Hey brother, how you doing today?" You don't know their name. But you say,
You don't know
"Brother,"
what kind of day
or-
they might be having.
or for me,
Correct. That
she,
part.
she's my little sister. Because she was in way after I was. So she's my little sister. My little brother's just getting out, or the guys going in. And my brothers are the guys my age. And I think the veterans coming out, they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because I said, "Look, I don't care when you got out, but we're family.
And
You know, we did something that nobody else did."
it's interesting because to me what you're saying, and again, I'm 45, but what you're saying to me
That's
is like common courtesy, yeah. Common courtesy, respect, right? And especially to veterans, it's like you should be courteous to everybody you meet, but the veterans served to protect your country. That takes a lot. Like, why would you not go out of your way to be like, "Hey, I got that for you. Don't even worry about it."
Yeah.
You know? And so to me, it boggles my mind when I see like lack of respect. I'm like, Jesus.
And that goes for like when you know that someone identifies as a veteran. So what if that individual doesn't identify as a veteran? That's why it's important that common courtesy that you mentioned is important. Because you don't know if the person in the grocery store in front of you served. And you walk up to them and you don't say anything to them, or they say something to you and you have a nasty attitude. You don't know if they have military experience. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they're going through.
Absolutely.
What are you radiating to others?
I love that. How
What are you emitting to others? When you give kindness, there's kind of something that comes back to you. At least for me anyway. I can't be mean to somebody because that doesn't sit well with my spirit. It doesn't sit well with me, but if I'm nice, I can say, "Oh, I spoke to this person today, and I met this person at the store, and guess what? This person we go to the same, book club or whatever it is that we do."
Isn't that a trip? And I talk about this all the time, how that makes you feel good. Like being able to help somebody, even if it's little. So the other day we went canvassing, and I went to this place called Camp Little Bear. And there was a dad there with his son. And it turned into an improv group. I wasn't expecting to meet this person there. We weren't expecting, but my point is that I felt good when I left home because we had an extensive conversation. He shared with me, and it was awesome. I didn't even feel like it was working. But I felt good because, I helped somebody. In one way or another, he got resources, we connected. Right, Matilde?
Yeah, and I mean, I think kind of piggybacking off that, while Jaime was in that conversation, I was playing with the little boy, and it was nice to see. I have a 3-year-old little boy, and he reminded me so much of my son, and it made me feel like, this is what I do for work.
It's so cool, and I think it's rare when you find people who feel about it, because I've also met people on the opposite side who are burned out, and they will tell you, "I can't wait to retire, I'm so done, I'm so tired." I get it. Sometimes I've been there too. I think it's part of being human.
Yeah.
But what I love about this discussion we're having is that we're acknowledging all these points, that you might meet people at the receiving end.
Yeah.
And then at the other side, and looking like these are all human experiences that people are having. So
Correct.
having that common courtesy, that respect, right?
Yeah.
You never know. And what you said was awesome because I never thought about it that way. You don't know if the person in front of you has served. You know, just by being kind, you know,
Yeah.
doing those things that sometimes, like my wife taught me this one. This is funny. It's gonna sound dumb, but this is funny. You know, I used to go to the grocery market. I put my stuff down on the conveyor belt, and then I just stand there. And she's like, no, put a little thing on the back so that people know they can put their stuff there.
Correct.
And it sounds like
It's thoughtful.
promise, right? But it's those little
It's
things
thoughtful,
that
it
now
is.
I do, and people are like, oh, thank you. I'm like, yes, I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like paying it forward,
Mhm.
and that person may do it to, you know, the person behind.
I did want to ask you, our veterans, a question,
Sure.
another serious
Yes,
question.
But
Frank, don't
let's
get
see,
mad
let's
at
see
me.
what it is.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, what the 4th of July means to you.
I thought about that question for a while. For me, the 4th of July, so my very favorite part of 4th of July, so I did come here from Jamaica at the age of 13. For me, the 4th of July was a family get together. Every year we would go to Culver City, we would go sit.
You're very quiet today, by the way.
I'm like, wait a minute, have you seen me there?
No, go ahead.
But we would go every year. We would go out, blankets and all of that to go see the fireworks show. So for me, it's what the 4th of July represents for my family as someone having come here from Jamaica. You know, Jamaica, it will forever be home. There's no place like it. But the United States also has given my family an opportunity that is immeasurable. Just for lack of a better word, it's immeasurable. And when I think about the 4th of July, you know, I don't want to be all gung-ho about freedom and patriotism, and I don't really want to, I don't want to advertise that, because everybody, I'm a very strong advocate, if you can't tell, of people, respecting people's opinions and respecting where they are, their experiences, their feelings, their emotions. I'm a strong advocate of that. And if you're not patriotic, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to judge you for it, because your opinions are formed by your experiences. And for me, the 4th of July represents just that, being able to come here, being able to go to school, being able to serve in the military, get medical care, being able to, you know, my nephew's 5, and, you know, I have 2 wonderful additions, that's nieces and nephews that's 6 months old, and
Oh, wow.
just seeing them and knowing that they're gonna grow up in a place where they're gonna be able to go to school without fear of discrimination. We do know that discrimination exists, but not in the overt sense,
Yeah.
you know, as in other places. And just being able to know that we have those freedoms to be able to do certain things, and that's what it represents for me, just the family orientation and what it represents for my family culture as a whole.
That's beautiful.
I can't even go anywhere near it.
Come on, you
Thanks a
need
lot,
to
thanks a
try.
lot, thanks a lot, Savannah. Thanks a lot. You know, for me, the 4th of July, I put out my flag and I look around and I see, and I'm from a foreign land, East Los Angeles, so there's not a lot of American flags in my neighborhood, unfortunately, but those that are there, I see the flag, and the flag represents something to me. You know, yeah, I served, and I honorably served, and I enlisted. And when I go to the river, you see others with the flag out, and it brings joy to me, because people are proud of being here, of being born in this land, and you know, and whatever the freedom that we have to do whatever we want. It means, you know, the picnics, yeah, the family picnics, the gatherings, family together, but it's not about the patriotism. It's about the family get together and enjoying each other. And that's what the 4th of July, I'm glad means to a lot of people. It's time to get together with family. But when I see the flag flying, and I know the people that have lost their lives and given everything to protect it, and those that try to destroy it are usually overcome. And that's what 4th of July means to me. It's all about being an American. It's standing up proud and saying, look, this is my country. This is what we do here. You know, and for me, I have an issue with people from other countries coming and putting out, you know, no offense to Jamaica, but not doing it right and wanting to bring their culture to us. You know, Mother's Day, there's 2 Mother's Days, and nowadays it's the Mexican Mother's Day. And my mother always told me, we don't celebrate Mexican Mother's Day. We're not from Mexico. We're from the United States. We only celebrate Mother's Day on that Sunday. And so I go, I'm good with that. You know, and so, but 4th of July is a very important holiday. Probably other than the Veterans Day and Memorial Day, is one of the most important ones for our country. And that's what it symbolizes to me, and that's what it means to me. It's about our country and what we do, the land of the free.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, you know, there are these different, you know, 2 Mexican Mother's Day. The unique thing about the United States is that you're able to do that here.
Yeah.
The freedom.
You're able to do that here. And that's what that flag, I know what you mean when you talk about the flag. Because we were even driving, I forget where we were driving, I was driving with my mom, and I said, look at that flag, just blowing. You hear that word majestic? Majestically. And I told her, I said, when I go to Jamaica, that's how I want to see the flag flown.
Yeah.
Because it symbolizes something. That flag represents the people, it represents those who served, it represents families. Everything that this nation stands for, that's in that flag.
And I think, number one, when you guys are speaking, I love to hear both point of views, because it's amazing. Like for me, my parents immigrated to this country illegally. My mom's from Mexico. And the 2 Mother's Day thing, I find it hilarious. I have to ask my wife, which one are we doing? I don't know. So,
No, you're not getting flowers 2 days.
but if you guys were to come to my house, I have a huge American flag. It's always there. I'm a really big patriot. To me, what it means is family. I remember when I was a kid, I think the blanket thing. We lived in a building and there was a lot on the side, so they would take a blanket, and we didn't have fireworks, but other people did, so we'd sit there and we'd enjoy the fireworks and just being with family.
Yeah.
But it's different for everybody. But the other point I wanted to make is everybody should be proud of their country. You know, regardless where it's at, there should be a sense of pride
And
and
connection.
enjoyment where you come from and connection.
Yes.
Like, and again, I'm gonna make you guys laugh. True story. I've never been to Mexico. I've been to TJ, I've been to Rosarito, like all the tourist areas, but I've never been to Mexico. So like, when I talk to other people who identify as Mexican, I identify, I think, like Mexican American because I was born here. Like I have some pride, but I don't know what it's really like.
You have heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy spicy food, and I love this. But that's not the point. My point is that having some type of pride in your country, I think, goes a long way. Like sometimes even when I hear people disrespecting other countries, I'm like, don't do that, because you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like we can't, like you have to have that, again, common courtesy,
Correct.
equal respect.
Correct.
And I want to say both Matilde, you are
Colombian.
Colombian,
Colombian.
and Manny,
Colombian.
Peruvian.
Peruvian. So we
okay.
have a melting pot here. Like this is so cool. Another brain fart, but like we represent, in a sense, America. The United States is a
We do.
melting pot of cultures.
We do.
Being able to communicate, extend that courtesy to other people, and be respectful. Like trying to understand. Again, like you know, my mom, when she came to this country, her story is sad. But when she came to this country, she already had 4 kids, my siblings. So they were all born in Mexico. and her struggles that she had to go through to get to where she's at now, it's tremendous. So again, just being courteous, being mindful goes a long way, because you never know where people are coming from, right? I did though, not to put Manny on the spot, but Manny, being a veterano, what does the 4th of July mean to you?
No, I you know, to me, I think it's a little bit of like both of the opinions. You know, there's a lot of pride that goes with that. I mean, it's having been, you know, born and raised in East Los Angeles in Boyle Heights, growing up in that culture, being of Peruvian ancestry and growing up in a predominantly Mexican area, I was already a minority within a minority. I grew up with people thinking that Peru was like one of the small little pueblos in Mexico and somewhere near Zacatecas, you know.
I love that joke.
Yeah, it's not a joke, it's a fact. That's what people used to think of Peru. Now everybody knows Peru because of, oh, lomo saltado, you guys have like the good Peruvian food. But yeah, to me, the 4th of July was always something that my parents made sure that we celebrated. Because we've always been proud of our heritage, all my family, besides my parents and my wife and kids, they're all back in Peru. I have no extended family out here. So we're... but you know,
He's trying to have a good day, man.
Yeah. See, but I also grew up, you know, with a lot of pride in my Peruvian heritage and my culture, in my East LA culture as well, but also to kind of taught to show respect for our country, because the reason we can, whether it's celebrate our Peruvian heritage or even question our authorities, is because we've been given that right to do that here in this country.
Yeah.
We don't have that ability to do that in our countries of origin.
Yeah.
And for that alone, I mean, there's a debt of respect that is owed to our country and to those who have served to protect our country and our liberties and our rights, you know. And for me, the flag also is something that I think we ought to respect with a tremendous amount of just like just effort, really, from folks.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot more about that and taken that to heart from my father-in-law, who himself is a veteran, an Army veteran. And you know, he served. He was deployed to Korea during the Vietnam War. Doesn't talk about it much, you know, and that's
Most people
get
don't.
it. Yeah, I get it. But you know, it's something that he takes a lot of pride, and he teaches that to his grandkids as well. That you don't disrespect the flag. You don't let the flag touch the floor. You don't wear the flag as a bandana. You know, they live in Huntington Beach, and we go every year to like the parades and. It's always a family tradition that we do together, but it's always interesting to watch my father-in-law when he looks at folks walking around with, you know, the American flag folded up and all tattered. People have it tied to their bikes and they're dragging it around, and he's just like, that's not respect towards our flag.
Yeah.
You know, that's not how you treat the flag, and I get that. I totally get that, especially, you know, I don't know what he went through, but I have a ton of respect for what he's done and for the man that he is, and you know, I definitely think that, yeah, we're a country built of immigrants, right? You look at who are the original. Remember, we had a similar conversation when we did the podcast with AICC for Native American Heritage Month.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they were the original Americans, right? But we're all built from. This country was built from immigrants.
Yeah.
Whether they came over yesterday or whether they came over over 150 years ago,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, that's our country. And the beauty about it is that our American culture, I think, is a little bit of everyone, you know?
And what you said, I think, to me is, even though like there's different levels, not levels of Americans, but like you said, the Native Americans, the different cultures, right? Having that respect for our veterans. Our country wouldn't be where it's at
There you go.
if those wars wouldn't have been fought, or these situations wouldn't have happened, right? These are our people who stand up
Yeah.
for the flag. So to me, again, it's huge, right? I think.
Yeah.
Well, you joked around earlier. You said I'm being surprisingly quiet today, and I'll be honest. It's it is something that I do intentionally because of my level of respect for veterans. I mean, anytime I'm around, I have several friends who have served, and some of them, when we get together and they have a couple beers, and then they'll open up about some of their stuff. It's not my place to ask them to comment, to sometimes to even say, you know what you should do. No,
It goes back to just listening.
it's my place to
And
listen.
being
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be present.
Hence, when we first started, when you guys walked in, me and Marila just walked away. And you guys had a blast. We were just like standing on the side, like, cool. It's totally cool, but I understand. I
You know,
think.
I wanna comment on, so you talked about the melting pot, right? For, when I came here, that was like the term, like I came here at 13. So still a teenager, still getting, it was a culture shock, completely different from being in Jamaica, coming here. But I've heard that term melting pot, and when you talk about that, I parallel it to our veterans. And with VPAN, you know that, well, you're aware, or most people are aware, that veterans are kind of like classified in groups, in silos, kind of, where you served honorably, you get this. You're other than honorable discharge, then you qualify for this. You're dishonorable, you qualify for this. So that's kind of like that culture that we're talking about, the differences in culture. In the veteran culture, there are these other separate entities, individualized. But how do we treat those individuals? They deserve the same amount of respect.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The same amount of respect that we give someone from Mexico, someone from Peru, someone from Jamaica, somebody from Colombia, from the United States, from, I don't know, Louisiana, wherever you're from, is the same amount of respect that we give somebody who served in the Army and is OTH. She served in the Navy, but she's honorable. She served 1 year, whatever that experience was, versus served 20 years. You still give that individual respect, because at the end of the day, they're still a human being. And they still deserve the right to what this country represents,
Absolutely.
right?
I think you said something too that I always touch on. Like, my big thing is treat everybody as a person. You have to have like a level of respect for all people. It doesn't matter where they've been. But again, to bring it back to the veterans, even a bigger respect, even if you served for a week, for whatever reason something happened, dude, you went through
Once
that
you
process.
sign, my thing is, and I don't know if it's gonna come back to bite me,
No.
once you sign on that dotted line and you say, hey, I'ma serve, respect is due.
Yeah. And by the way,
Respect is due.
everything you say here is top secret. No one will ever hear
gonna be
any of
published
this.
on
It's
social
not
media.
gonna be anywhere.
Don't worry, you're not gonna find it on YouTube.
I think Frank and I think we're gonna become good friends.
Yes, but seriously though, once you sign, one of the biggest things I believe is, I wanna use the word injustice, is to have these segregated instances and these barriers within the veteran culture. And we teach veterans that you served 1 day, you served 10 months, therefore you're better than the veteran who served only a short period of time. And the veterans feel like that, because in my work with VPAN, I'll talk to a veteran and they say, oh, I only served 5 months, or I only did 4 years. I didn't serve 20 years like some other people did. Hey, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself on all levels. Be kind to yourself, because you still served.
One of the things that you, this year especially as we get into the year, is where the thought process changed about the dishonorable discharge and the bad conduct discharges, that now everybody's one. Where, like you said, we signed on the dotted line. We volunteered. And there's a majority, nowadays, there's no draft, so everybody that's in the military, that's their decision to join. You're automatically in an area all by yourselves. Because in Vietnam and in Korea, the draft was there. 80% of those people did not want to go to the military. They wanted to stay home with the families and not have to worry about it. But they're the same as we are. You know, when I wear a shirt and somebody thanks me for my service, it's kind of weird because, you know, I say thank you and I go, it was an honor. Because not everybody can go. Not everybody's accepted. You know, you have to pass a test, your physical, whatever, however you want to say it. You know, I decided that I want to work for my country. I want to fight for my country because my forefathers did. They taught us something, and it's for us to keep it going. You know, if you're a parent and your mom and your sister are like, no, Mio, you can't go. It's like, I'm going. You know, and there's we want to make our family, and especially our mothers, happy. Yeah, my mom was thrilled. She packed my bags.
My mom didn't know. I didn't tell her.
You're tough. But for us as veterans, and she's saying, and it's really interesting because when you sign that paper and you swear in the office, people don't, the veterans didn't know. Veterans don't know this, is that you're still not in the military until you swear in the second time and you get on that bus. You can say, you know, I decided I didn't want to go in, and they actually have to tear the paperwork. If I say, look, it's not for me, I decided no. But once you go to the El Segundo now, you raise your hand that second time, and you're the military now. You have no choice. They tell you to jump, you jump. Not how high. You don't ask how high. You just jump.
And I think, so I'm a naturalized citizen.
Okay.
One of the proudest days of my life.
Congratulations.
And I think one of the things that I always talk to my husband, he's also a naturalized citizen, is that with our son, I would like him to take the citizenship test. I would like him to understand the foundation of this country.
Yeah.
Because what the 4th of July is for me, what this country is for me, it's history. I see the flag, I know what the 50 stars are for. I know what the colors are for.
Yeah.
And that to me is very meaningful. I tell you guys, I'm a historian at heart. And that to me is very important. And there's a phrase that always stands out to me during my ceremony, is that I pledge to take arms for the United States, if that's what it takes. And that for me, it stands out. Because when I said that, I was like, I don't know how to shoot, but I will find my way around a gun to do that. And I think that's what a lot of our community doesn't understand, what our veterans have done for our country.
Yeah, and I wanted to make a comment about something you said. So I know that when I served, we went in at a time when it was voluntary. So
Right.
So for those who voluntarily served, some of those who were drafted, they served proudly. But we do have to understand that for many veterans, what the military was not a positive experience. And some of them did not serve proudly, whether they signed on the dotted line voluntarily or were drafted. Their experience was just not a good one. For whatever reason, discrimination, they got sick, whatever it was. And we have to understand that for those veterans as well, we have to meet them where they are. And we have to be respectful of their decision to not go to the VA. But how can I help you engage into other mental health services? How can I help you access other health care? You don't want to go here to the West LA VA, though you may be qualified. Where else can I take you? Where else can I support you in going? So we have to understand that we have to meet them where they are. You know, even though, you know, not everybody says, I'm a proud veteran. Some people don't even want to be called a veteran. They don't want people to know that they're a veteran.
They don't acknowledge anything.
But we would encourage them at VPAN, myself, we would encourage them to seek out your benefits. Go get your benefits, because you may not need it now, but I've met veterans who at the end, when they're older, they could benefit from those services and those added resources. And they're there for you because the bottom line is you did serve your country. You did serve. And these benefits are there for you.
And people don't understand the difference between a veteran, a firefighter, and a police officer. A veteran is somebody that protected the United States, protected everyone that lives on this country, in this country. A firefighter and a police have a section that they protect. And people ask you, well, what's the difference? The difference is I didn't get paid for what I do. And what we did, I made $400 a month. That's all I got, but I got room and board. Some of these guys make over $100,000. We didn't do it for the money. We didn't do it to survive. We did it because we wanted to do what's right for our country and whatever our forefathers did. And people say, well, you're no better than a police officer or a firefighter. I said, you know, you're gonna believe whatever you believe. But when I went, I didn't fight in this 9-mile region. We went everywhere and to protect the people who live within this country. And it's interesting how people put you in the same categories. And I'm saying, we're not. You know, and I worked for the LAPD when I retired. But it's a total different entity. Being a veteran, I'm proud. When people thank me for my service, I'm proud. You're a firefighter or a police officer, there's no respect anymore. You don't get a thank you for being a police officer anymore. You get, why are you giving me a ticket? Why are you bothering me? You know, as a veteran, we don't get that. We get a smile, a handshake, or a big thank you. You know, you go to Home Depot, and before you were able to put your phone number in to the military discount, even the cashiers that are younger than my children thank me for my service. And some of them even engage in a conversation because they're thinking about going in. And you talk about the positive, and you say you have to feel it inside you. Don't do it to get away from mom and dad, or grandma and grandpa, or your brothers and sisters. Do it because you feel it. Because if you don't go in it because you feel it, you're in trouble. That's going to be a bad experience.
I'm curious. Sorry to cut you off, but you know, given in your backgrounds and your work with the veterans, you know, I'm interested in feedback from both of you as far as like coming from like programs like that we provide, mental health out here in Service Area 7. How do you see programs like ours, like our Peer Resource Center, our clinics, being able to engage with the veteran community in providing, whether it's just support, education, whatever it might be, or a safe place to talk, you know, and not necessarily maybe serving more as a conduit in getting people over to VPAN, but I'm curious from both of your perspectives, like how do you see, like what advice could you give someone like myself who works with staff in designing these programs and services, like what could we do to engage better with the veteran community?
I'm going to start because she's going to give you a detail. And mine's going to be very brief. It's all about the communication. It's all about getting the word out. Whether it's the churches, the markets, the recreation halls, the gyms, wherever, giving information out there so that somebody can see it. You know, word of mouth is good, but a lot of people don't talk to each other anymore. The communication has really dropped in our culture. But for me, it's just getting your information out. How to do it is just flyers, word of mouth, you know, events, letting people know, hey, we're doing this, and broadcasting it. You know.
Right.
What you said.
Plus. See, the Army always tries to talk to the Air Force.
So communication is definitely key. Communication is key, it's up there. Collaboration is also key. So if you're a provider and you know that, say for example, you're here at the resource center and you know that veterans do come in, you want to get connected to the veteran community. You want to get connected to those meetings that talk about veteran services, that talk about veterans event, that talk about veteran services that has other veteran providers. You want to get connected with resources that are geared towards the veteran community. You also want to do some research of your own on what's out there. Like, okay, right now the PACT Act is active. Veterans who may be exposed to burn pits or Agent Orange, they can file a claim with the VA and get service connected. You want to be able to get that information, increase your own knowledge of how to be able to better assist them. Read up on some stuff about how to better assist veterans, talk to other veterans. That's key. Engage with other veterans. We do at VPAN, we have our support line, which is like our hub of referrals and services, and it also offers emotional support, by the way. But we also are powered by the Unitas platform. Have you heard of the Unitas platform?
No.
The Unitas platform is basically, think of it like a hub where different providers come in, and it's like a network. And what we do is when we get a referral, we will get them signed up in the Unitas platform, and we can provide referrals from that platform. So, for example, one of our partners is Helping Hand Senior Foundation, Veterans Upward Bound. So if you have a veteran that says we need education services, we log in, we do the referral, and we can literally refer them from that platform. We are encouraging individuals, if you provide any services that can be beneficial to veterans, register for the Unitas platform, because then we can have our veterans and our military family members can have greater access to you and the services and resources you provide. Another one is the Los Angeles Veterans Collaborative. Have you heard of the LAVC? Okay. The LAVC is like the meeting of all meetings pertaining to veteran services and resources. It happens on the second Tuesday of each month. Next month it's going to be in person at Bob Hope Patriotic Hall. And it's literally, I've been on meetings where there have been people out of the country calling virtually. Most of the time since the pandemic, it's been virtually. And we have a new format now where we do access and engagement, and it's basically talking about what's working, what's not working, how do we remove these barriers to veteran services, and how do we help our veterans get greater access to services. What can we do to break down these walls, to get them greater services, and to get them the assistance that they need. And this meeting is open to veteran providers or non-providers. If you want to know what's going on in the veteran community, if you have veterans who come in, military family members who come in, get connected to these meetings, because it's literally resources on there that you wouldn't hear elsewhere. We have working groups, we have various working groups that happen after the access and engagement meeting. There's faith-based, there's education, there's housing and homelessness. And we break out into these groups, and there's literally discussions like this that talk about what's going on in the housing and homelessness group. We talk about legislation that's going on, like in Washington, like big legislation that's going on with changes with the veteran community. And we talk about just like these different things that will be beneficial to our veterans and the services and our military family members. I know I'm talking, but
No, you're good.
Now you know I went first.
yes, but this is how, just to answer your question, that you cannot serve veterans and not reach out and make that extra effort to connect with the veteran community, make that extra effort to connect with the local VRC. Like, who's your local VRC for SPA 7? If there is one. Talk to your schools that provide, each school should have a veteran resource center on campus, each of the community colleges. And for me, the Veteran Resource Center was, the Veteran Resource Center and the Vet Center for me when I was going through college was a big factor in my success. So you want to have access to the services. If you have someone come in, whatever age group they are, if they're a veteran, connect them to those services that are, to their targeted population. That would be my best suggestion.
No, that's good. That's really good information to have.
Yeah. Connect them to Patriotic Hall.
And sometimes I know, to your point earlier that you were making, that sometimes having been in the service wasn't a positive experience for every veteran. Because I think sometimes the interactions, and I try to get out to the community and engage with the community when we have these events, I think it's isolated where we have one or two veterans that usually show up and the ones that are comfortable enough to speak up. But in my experience, I've also engaged, including this young man that I was talking about earlier at one of our events who was saying, you know, was kind of upset and agitated about why we spend so much money in outreaching to the homeless but not enough to the veterans. You know, he also said, it's like one of the things is like, being a veteran isn't the only thing that defines him. And like he was one of those individuals who's just like, I don't want to have anything to do with the VA because all they want to do is load me up on pills, and I'm fed up with that.
Fair enough.
You know.
Fair enough.
So I think part of it's understanding that not everyone has that positive experience for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
It's an individual experience, but I mean this is great information because I do think that ultimately what we're trying to do as a system, at least on the mental health side, is that there is no wrong door for any of our community members. So that whether you're a veteran, whether you're a resident, whether you're an undocumented resident, whatever, and you need help, that you can come to us and we'll provide some sort of support and guidance.
Exactly.
So having these type of discussions it's really important because we can't claim to be subject matter experts, right?
No, we can talk about like our lived experiences, and that's what, you know, a lot of us on VPAN, we have lived experiences, and we can talk about our lived experiences, and that helps us to do our job, our work better, and that helps us to relate to our veterans and our military family members better. I'm not saying go out and tell somebody your whole life story, but you can tell them, hey, I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. This happened to me, but you're supposed to give healthy self-disclosure when it's appropriate, and you share those lived experiences as is appropriate to be able to help that other individual and to empower that other individual. You know, we wanna be able to, you know, yes, veterans are one culture, but then you also have a group of individuals who have, you know, mental illness and have anxieties and all of these other ailments, you know, whether it's arthritis or whatever that may be. He says that they give him a pill, they fill him up on pills. Okay, what can you do? You don't want to take pills. What other options do you think? What other options would you like to try? You want to do acupuncture? You want to do holistic medicine? There are other resources there, and being able to meet him where he is with those decisions.
And help him go where he wants to go.
Correct. Yeah. It's his decision, it's his choice. If he doesn't want to take meds, okay, you respect that.
You start where the client's at. Start
And
where-
Where are you gonna start? It's all about the client.
And it's interesting how you say that I've talked to a few vets, and my son, you know, they wanna load them up with medication. And these guys are like, no, I don't want that. What else, what other options do we have? And I have a question for you guys. My son is in the mental health with the VA. And sometimes it's difficult for him because getting an appointment, this or that. As mental health, if a veteran is under or counseling there in the VA, will you guys take and talk to him and give him guidance, or, you know, just sit and talk to him?
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I know my son, he's had a tough time. He was on a submarine, and that was a real hard. He was underwater for 62 days at one time straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so, and for him, I know that one of his big issues, and I don't know if they touched bases, but real briefly, is that he doesn't want to let anything go. He holds on to it, and he'll call me, and I said, dude, just let it go. It's like spilled milk.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah,
It's that's something that's gonna be learned. It's
Yeah,
gotta be learned. And with healthy practices, he'll learn to do that eventually. We can't expect that when we've gone through these traumatic experiences, they're just gonna disappear overnight. Sometimes it takes years. But we have to understand that there is, once we're alive, and this is why, VPAN also has a suicide prevention protocol. Because if you can make it another day, there's hope for you to get better and get well and reach your goals and do what you need to do to survive for your family, for yourself, so we want, it's gonna be learned. I was listening to one of your podcasts and you were talking about just mental health is not just one size fits all. Sometimes you gotta try this and then you gotta try that, and I encourage my clients, listen, if you try a therapist and they don't resonate with you, it's okay to ask for someone else. It's absolutely okay.
Something you guys both said is connection. We're out in the community. Me sharing the story about connecting with that gentleman, it was so genuine. I wasn't even trying. We were just talking. Our men's group. So we have a men's group. It's all about connection, right? How you approach people, that respect, that sometimes just listen.
Yeah, and in particular, we're trying to do things a little bit differently. So with mental health, we're trying to really get more of our services out instead of bringing everyone in. So a lot of our services, like what we've developed with the Peer Resource Center here, it's really like one of the things I push the team to do is I want to see you in the office occasionally. Where I really want to run into you is out in the community.
Right.
You need to be out there. So part of the groups that they run is they're open to everyone and anyone. So it doesn't matter if you're receiving services at Rio Hondo and you were, receiving services at Kaiser. Doesn't matter if you want to go to one of their group activities.
Yeah.
And we're moving more towards a hybrid model. We initially were doing everything via Teams so that people can access it safely from home. Now we're doing things in person, but we're still giving folks an option to log in and be able to join remotely.
Yeah.
Partly because we still want people to have that access, but the other part of it also is that some of our community members aren't quite ready to be there.
Yeah.
They don't want to be seen. There's still
Correct.
a little stigma around what we do. So we encourage folks that when they're online, turn your camera on or sign in. But some of our community members don't. They won't turn their camera on, they'll stay anonymous. They'll just listen. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's what we want. It's even by listening, if you take something helpful home from what we're offering, that's a win.
That's
Right,
a win.
you're right.
Correct.
So yeah, for someone like your son, yeah, they're more than welcome
Yeah.
to join.
And one of the things that I adopted my sons through LA County, and they were special needs, and one of the good things is that he received mental health through LA County.
Mhm.
Without the help from mental health as a youngster, he would have never been a veteran. I thank you for that and your
Awesome.
peers. I mean, it's something like that, and that's, I guess, what I advocate for mental health, because my son could do it. Me, there's no help for me, but my son, he got through it, and that's one of those positive outcomes that I thank you for. And I'm like, when I said LA County Mental Health, I smiled. And I can give something back a little bit right now because of what you gave to my son, which makes me feel good.
Well, mental health doesn't discriminate.
I know,
mental
I
illness does
know.
not
They call me
discriminate.
all the time, I said I'm busy.
Mental illness doesn't discriminate. Doesn't care what ethnic background, how
Ethnicity,
rich,
how
where
old
you
you
are
are.
born.
Nothing.
None of that.
Yeah, I know.
It's something that impacts us all.
And there's nothing wrong with going to see a therapist. We encourage you to speak to somebody.
It takes courage.
It takes courage.
Mhm.
And therapy is not about someone telling you what to do or, that there's something wrong with you. It's about helping you figure out those healthy habits to get you well. And mental health is a taboo thing. I do host a group that we have at the Stephen A. Cohen Clinic, and we play bingo. but it has a large emphasis on mental wealth and wellness. Like we start with meditation, there's affirmations around the room, we talk about positive self-care, and we talk about this idea of mental wealth. You know, what is it gonna take for you to get well? It's about mental wealth and wellness. Because this idea, they said, I've heard clients tell me, I'm not, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. You're absolutely okay. It's okay to be not okay. There's strength in asking for help. And the moment you ask for help, it's like a stress reliever. Just to take a deep breath. Just a deep, and let it all out. And that's what it takes. Just talk to somebody. Just talk to somebody.
And knowing that it's okay, so that reminds me of a group I had last week. We were talking about individuals who don't have a support network, whether it's friends or family. And I said, at one point in my life, I didn't have a support network. So I went to therapy. My therapist was like my friend. He didn't judge me, he listened to me, he gave me good advice. Like he was able to, of course. But everybody, when I said that, they all turned around and they said, "You went to therapy?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Yeah."
I've gotten that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. It was great. I'll do it again if I need to.
And
I
I've
think-
had,
I think every veteran should go talk to somebody, even if it's one time.
yeah.
You know, I used the mental health at the LA, and it only helps to deal with everyday life. Even if you don't have an issue in the military,
Mhm.
it's everyday life. Your wife, your ex-wife, your kids,
Traffic.
exactly. How to deal with everyday events.
Mhm.
Traffic, lines at the market, lines at the bank,
Mhm.
people that just don't have any thought process and run through red lights or cut you off. And it's just a really good thing to go talk to somebody, whether it's LA County or the VA, because everybody needs to share something and get something off their chest. There's things that you don't want to go home and talk to your husband about,
Yeah.
or you to your wife, or anybody. It's just, hey, I just need somebody just to listen to me and not judge me. You don't know who I am, which is great. You talk to your husband, he's gonna judge me because you're just nuts. Why'd I marry you?
Or agree with everything that I say, and yes,
Yeah.
of course, and yes.
Yeah, you're right.
What? Husbands do that?
I realized that 5 years ago, honey. You're just finding out.
Yeah.
And so, but with the VA or anybody, they don't know you.
Yeah.
And they can't. And see, for us as veterans, we don't want to be judged. Don't judge me,
As
because you don't know
individuals-
what my life has been.
As individuals, we don't want to be judged.
Yeah.
And
And
wouldn't
that's why we
it be
don't.
nice that if we're able to achieve that, we were able to talk freely and not judge, one another, but,
In a utopian
and then you
future.
took. Maybe when the aliens descend, we'll finally.
The UFOs?
I think you guys all said something really awesome, and it helped me wrap my brain around this concept. So, stigma is huge in mental health.
Mhm.
We were all talking about that. And in my head, in my weird way of thinking, this peer movement that we have going, these PRCs or these peer networks, it's kind of like a soft way of introducing services to people. When we're out there with our team, we're not telling anybody or judging them that they're broken. We're just having a conversation about everyday stuff. And then if we acknowledge or maybe we see, hey, they might need some extra support, then we refer them to maybe the VA. And it's, for me, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, in thinking, I feel like what we're doing as peers and connecting with the community is a gateway to opening more individuals to receiving services if needed, right? Everybody needs to talk to somebody. You're absolutely right, it's not that I don't want to tell my wife everything, it's that sometimes I don't want to have that conversation with her.
Mhm.
But I'll talk to Manny, I'll talk to Matile, I'll talk to my other staff, we all just share. Even Matile reminded me the other day that although we're all professionals, sometimes we need to just let it out, just talk. We all need self-care, the original kind of point of the conversation, right? Self-care.
They can have self-care too.
Yeah, that-
Yeah, we're talking about hair.
that's a problem.
Thank you.
But I think you you all here made awesome points that I am gonna take something away with for sure. I am.
We hope so. We
Yeah,
hope so.
you know, and people talk about, or they say he's or she's broken, and it's like we're not broken. We just have some issues that we need attending to, because when and I've heard that phrase more often than not, that they're broken. I go, I'm not bleeding. I'm not broken. I have an issue that, or a situation that I need help to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and so when people are labeled, well, you know, they're broken, how are they broken? And for us, for me as a veteran, is like, I'm not broken. I just have something that I need to talk about because I don't know how to figure it out.
And we all have things that we need to work on, so
Yeah.
if
You
like
sure
that,
do.
we're all broken.
Yeah.
It's very human. It's kind of part
It's
of.
so human, and one of the things that I've learned from going to therapy, and trust me, like you said, we can all use a therapist. Even if you're a therapist, you can use somebody to talk to as well. One of the things that I've learned is just being present and being mindful of where I am in my thoughts. So if I'm feeling down one day, I'll literally notice myself saying, Simone, I don't know, I don't feel so good right now. What's going on? What happened? What's happened? What's going on? And I'll literally have a conversation with myself. I'll literally have a conversation with myself and I say, oh, this is what happened. Or I'll talk to my mom or my dad, or, and I'll say, I don't feel so good. And they'll say, oh, I think this is what happened. Just check it in. I have a friend who we do a gratitude check-in, and it's funny because some days he'll send his gratitude and I'll respond nothing. Or some days I'll respond, I'm still grateful, but I just don't feel like doing my list today.
Yeah.
And I literally am talking to myself, I'm going to be kind to myself. If I make a mistake, I'm literally saying, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm not going to judge myself. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Sam, but like you keep on hitting nerves with me, so like.
And I'm like writing things down.
Yeah, it's so funny. So I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I talk to myself all the time. Not in a bad way. That's how I figure things out.
Yeah, I do all the time driving.
Best conversation.
My son goes, you're
I've
talking
ever
about the
had.
school board, aren't you, Dad?
So my daughter says, I have her music playing on a Saturday. We're taking a drive. I was hoping she would take a nap, and we're driving, and I'm thinking about something. I'm talking. She goes, Dad, what were you talking to? And she's 3, so I'm like, no one, Mommy. I was singing a song. She's like, no, you weren't. I'm like, so now I've learned, not in front of my daughter, but I totally get you. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. This is the way I process things.
Yeah.
This is the way I move forward, and it's healthy for me.
Right.
So like teaching these positive or healthy coping mechanisms or just ways to deal with things.
Yeah.
I think it's very real.
Yeah.
Part of, for me, removing that stigma is sharing with people and making them aware this is super normal. You don't talk to yourself, bro, you need to start.
And even if you're not physically saying the words out loud,
Of course.
like you might be at the DMV. That's one of the most stressful places we know. And it's literally just going through your head like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit anxious right now. Maybe I need to just take some deep breaths in your head. You're not saying it out loud because you're like other people around, but it's literally just understanding like, okay, I'm feeling a little weird right now. Something's a little bit off. I'm not my normal self. Wait a minute, what's going on? And then correcting that and saying, okay, I need to take some deep breaths. Okay.
And normalizing it. So like for me, I'm not a veteran. I can't even begin to imagine what our veterans go through.
And those same words that you say, I don't mean to cut you.
Yes.
When you interact with a veteran, you asked me before, how do you interact with a veteran? Those words right there, saying that out loud to a veteran, letting them know that, hey, I didn't serve. I can't begin to understand what you're going through, but I'm here to assist you in the best way I possibly can.
Yeah, and I think that goes a long way with anyone. I've approached homeless people in the past, and even with them, I can't judge you.
I know we're over time, but I would like to say for anyone who is, for anyone who is watching the podcast, if they are a veteran who served, regardless of discharge status, if you're a veteran spouse, a military family member, the VPAN is here to help. We are here to help. We are all over Los Angeles County. We have 6 locations, including Patriotic Hall. Patriotic Hall is open 5 days per week. On Wednesdays, it's open until 8, because the purpose of that was to reach those individuals who don't have traditional schedules and they are only available after work. So we encourage you, get connected to the veteran community. Get connected, walk into Patriotic Hall, visit us on the various floors, talk to us, see what we're all about, because we are here to assist you. The VPAN support line, call us, 800-854-7771, option 3. It's there for emotional support. Call in and talk to somebody. We're there to help. We're here to listen to you. If you just want to vent, just call. If you want to provide connected to resources, give us a call. And we're there.
It's beautiful.
For that. Thank you.
And for you veterans that are on the bubble and you don't know what you want to do or how to do it, or you just don't have inside you to go somewhere, there's so many numbers, there's so many people that you can reach out to. And I encourage you to, solitary isn't a good thing at all. There's people here that want to help, and they're not going to force it on you. And all you have to do is just say, hey, I want to talk. You don't have to ask for help. You just say, I'd like to talk. And you're going to find that there's so many doors that are going to be open for you, and for you to be able to take the steps that you have inside you, but you're afraid to bring up. And I encourage you to, use a number. This lovely young lady here is gonna give you the support you need, and the gentleman and Matilda over there are gonna help you. Don't be afraid to use the phone. Don't be afraid to pick it up.
Nope.
Veterans, don't be afraid to go to your buddy and say, hey, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And do it a care check on them.
Yep.
Because we're all brothers and sisters. Don't forget that. We all did something that the majority of people didn't do.
Yep.
And love each other for it and
And-
support each other.
And regardless of your time in service, regardless of what your discharge paper says, you be kind to yourself and you be proud that you signed on the dotted line.
I have no words.
You
guys are
at
awesome.
the same
Well,
time.
We do have EBT and we have, Venmo and, we do Zelle.
Well, I know it can't be said enough, but thank you both for being here, Fran.
Thank you.
Oh, no, it was an honor for me to be asked. And
Absolutely,
anytime.
an honor. Absolutely.
And thank you guys for your service.
Yeah,
Oh
thank you.
man, it was an honor.
Anytime
And if
you
I
want-
could, I'd do it again.
Yeah, anytime you want VPAN to come out and talk, or if you want us to engage with a client or a veteran, or, let us know.
Well,
Let us know by all means. I'll send an email with some upcoming events, because there's also the 3-day stand down. It's been going for,